Welcome to the VMSG Dashboard Public Health Performance Management System. Whether you're a new user or just getting a refresher on how the system flows, we believe that a full overview of the system will help every user know how they contribute to the department's success. In this presentation, we're going to discuss a bit of the history of the VMSG, as well as the functionality of the dashboard itself. We'll walk you through the steps to log in and start using your dashboard. As you'll see, the VMSG dashboard is a very robust system, and this overview is a drink from a fire hose. You'll be getting a lot of information during the presentation, so keep in mind that learning the dashboard is progress over perfection. Now grab some popcorn and a pot of coffee and enjoy the overview. The VMSG Dashboard Public Health Performance Management System was developed with and specifically for public health departments. At the core, it's a comprehensive operational planning and execution system that uses the PDCA Deming cycle: plan, do, check, and adjust. We've been working with public health for over 19 years. With that experience and collaboration with hundreds of public health departments across the United States, the dashboard became what it is today. Our dashboard clients provide continuous feedback and suggestions for the improvement of your system. The dashboard has also been designated as fully demonstrated at many health departments for FAB Standard 9.1. As a matter of fact, that might be why you're viewing this presentation today. The dashboard engages all staff and selected external partners in planning, monitoring, performance management, and organizational success. Let's begin by defining the steps of performance management as it relates to public health and the VMSG dashboard. There are three primary steps to public health performance management. The first step is developing operational plans, defining the plans all the way down to a specific set of activities. These activities will be completed in a specific time frame by a specific group of people with specific metrics. Next, once the plans are developed and executing, we monitor the plans at every level in real time. Plans can be monitored by the department, division, or program, all the way down to the specific activities. The last step, now that you've developed and are monitoring your plans, you'll make continuous improvements using that plan, do, check, and adjust cycle. So, the three steps to public health performance management: develop a plan, monitor the plan, improve the performance of the plan. What does that look like in the dashboard? The dashboard was created around the public health standard planning model. How is that illustrated in your system? Let's start by envisioning a pyramid. At the top of your pyramid is the organization, which is typically your health department. The next level down may look like your org chart. They're your groups. Groups can be any of the divisions, offices, or even programs such as WIC, emergency preparedness, community health. And this might include a plan, your strategic plan, or your CHIP. Each group has a set of services that they provide to the community, partners, or department. Initiatives are those services that you plan to do in the future. Each service and initiative has a set of goals. Under each goal is a set of measurable objectives. That represents what you're trying to accomplish. Each objective then has a set of specific activities. These represent the how we'll accomplish the objective. Now, the developer will take you live into the system.
Thank you. Now we're going to go live into the system. We're actually going to go through the entire process of developing an operational plan, walking it through its life cycle, and then actually making corrections using the PDCA cycle. So we've developed a little demo organization called USA Public Health. I'm going to take you live into the system now. Okay, what you're looking at is the main menu page of the VMSG dashboard. What I'd like you to focus on for now, if you don't mind, are these tabs across the top. If you look at them closely, you'll see that these tabs are the pyramid flipped on its left side. Orgs, groups, services and initiatives, goals, objectives, and activities. So what I'm going to do first is go to the Groups tab here. We'll go down and select Community Health Division. So what I've just done is filter that entire pyramid to be just community health. Now we're going to go look at the services and initiatives specifically for community health. You'll see we have 6 of them here. Today we're going to focus on the Safe Kids program, and specifically we're going to develop a quick little operational plan to manage the car seat program within the Safe Kids program. So for the Safe Kids program, we have a set of goals. And again, we're going to focus on this top goal: promote and provide child passenger safety education and resources to the partners in the community at large. As we go down the pyramid, you're going to notice that we're going to get more and more specific. So number 1, you're going to see these status flags sitting out here, which as you can see are traffic lights. Exactly as you'd think. Green light means go, means everything is moving along as you'd expect. Yellow light is caution, meaning that something potentially going wrong. Red light means, oops, something has gone wrong. Time to dig into it and figure out what's going on. And then the gold bar that you see up there indicates successful completion of that portion of the plan. So it's pretty easy to look at that and tell which things are on track, which things you need to dig into a little bit deeper, and which things are already completed. The other thing that you'll find is important is this notes and comments field down here. What you're going to find is that anytime you make a change to this particular goal, to the traffic light or anything else, you're going to put a note in there as to why you did that. This becomes a communication vehicle across everybody looking at the system, and most people will have access to this. They'll be able to look at that and say, hey, I understand why he made the change to that. I don't need to go call him and figure out what's going on at that point in time. So you're going to see that that's important as we move forward here. So for this particular goal, we're going to look at the specific measurable objectives here. Objectives, number 1, are SMART. So they're specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-based or time-bound, depending on your definition here. So as an example, by November 30th, we're going to distribute 20 car seats per week to families through these programs. So it's a very finite target that we've just set up there. To get us to that target, we're going to assign a person called an objective lead. In this case, it's Diane Cox. Diane's job is to get us to the target of 20 car seats a week by November here. Not necessarily to do all the work to do it, but to lead the team kind of to get there. So to change that, it's very simple. Just click on this little down arrow here, and you'll notice that it's showing just Diane's name. It's because we're currently looking just within Community Health Division. Apparently, Diane's the only person assigned within Community Health. But if I do want to make a cross-functional team or show other folks in the department here, I can just hit Show All Users. Now it shows me everybody in this little demo department here. I'm going to leave Diane as our objective lead in here and move forward here. So Diane is the lead who's going to get us to that 20 car seats a week. Now, specifically, how are we going to do that? That's where we get down to the activity level. The activities are the steps we're going to go through to get to that target. So let's walk through those, and we'll walk through the data elements down here at the bottom. So number 1, establish a funding stream. So obviously 20 car seats a week is a lot of money. We're going to get people to actually fund our programs. We're going to go to the Safe Kids folks and ask them to fund our car seat program in here. Every activity has got a performance metric or a target. And as all that is how do I know when I've successfully completed the activity? So usually it's pretty simple. In this case, we're looking for funding. Once we've acquired funding, we've completed the activity. Every activity also has a beginning date and ending date. So that's the time frame in which we're going to complete the activity. And then over here, you'll see the metric. In this case, it's a % complete. Now, the most common type of activity is called a project-based activity. Project-based activity is measured just purely by a % complete, the most simple type activity, and by the way, the most common in here. Now, if you want to measure quantities here, you can go down here to the QM, quantitative measurement activity, and the big difference there is that this % done field gets replaced by a quantity field. So for instance, number of car seats per week, something along that line. The quantity field is typically compared against a target quantity, like 20 car seats a week, and it'll do the calculation of how close you are %wise. You can also compare it to what we call a zero target, and the zero target then just says add up the numbers. So you may have something that at the end of the month, you just want to know how many you did, how many restaurant inspections you completed, something along that line. So you can use it that way. The third type activity you see here, quality assurance activity. The QA activity is unique in that it has a beginning date and a frequency instead of an end date. The frequency being weekly, monthly, quarterly, annually, something along that line. In this case, it's a repetitive activity. So what you're saying is we're going to install car seats weekly. So what's going to happen is this is going to move the dates ahead for you every week when you enter your information and allow you to enter the data for the next week automatically. So it moves ahead for you. It also has some other features that we'll be talking about in a few minutes here. Now, every activity also has a specific team of people associated with it. So if I click on this little pencil icon, again, it's going to open my window up to Community Health Division, as you can see here with Diane. But I'm going to make a cross-functional team here. So I'm going to select the little X here, which opens it up to the whole department. And you'll be able to see these three columns. Number one, the team column says we have 4 people assigned as team members. We have chosen a single team lead of Diane Cox, and we've given Diane the responsibility of receiving an automated email notification to come back here and update this activity on a regular basis. Now, there's options to have multiple team leads as well as multiple email notifications, your choice. Over here in the far right column, we have FTE, or full-time equivalent. What we can do with this is actually determine the amount of time that's going to be required to complete this activity. So you can see that Diane and Mara have each indicated a 0.1 FTE, which is about roughly 4 hours a week for each of them to complete this activity. What we do with that is we just roll it up the pyramid. So from the person level up to the activity level, it has a 0.2 FTE. For all of these activities rolled up to the objective level, you see a 0.6 FTE, which is about 3 person days per week to accomplish this objective here. So what it allows you to do is things like cost benefit analysis, comparing programs to see what the best use of your limited resources is, something along that line. So it's a nice tool. So that's our first activity, is establish funding stream. Our next activity then is going to be to create a partnership with a local car seat installer. We don't want public health people installing car seats if we can help it. So we're going to hire an outside partner who's going to manage this program for us. Now, down here at the bottom, we have this activity partner group. Click on a pencil icon again. It's going to open up my partner database. And you can see down here that I have chosen Andrea's car seat installation, and specifically my contact there is Andrea Schoen. So Andrea is going to be the person who's actually going to manage this program for us. Now, if we choose to, we can make Andrea a user in the system, which then allows her to go back in. Maybe she can be that email recipient. She can go back in and update the number of car seats she's installed each week for us to eliminate you having to call Andrea and find out how many car seats they installed and putting it back into the system here. So now we have funding. We have somebody to manage the program. Now we got to get the word out. We got this great car seat program, but nobody knows about it. So we're going to go to our PIO office and we're going to have them get the word out. So they're going to do kind of a marketing campaign, and they're going to go out probably to specific neighborhoods that fit that financial demographic. The car seat program is applicable to folks who fall under a certain income range, obviously have kids and want to protect their kids with good car seats. So they're going to go out and get the word out to those folks so that those people will then go to Andrea. Andrea is going to qualify them and install their car seats. Then we're going to get down to what we would consider to be kind of a bottom line activity here. The bottom line activity is that Andrea's car seats will install 20 car seats per week. So what we just did in the last 5 minutes is created a good solid operational plan to manage the car seat program. Now, if I take you back through the pyramid, we can walk down here and see how it looks in the pyramid. So remember, it was under Community Health Division, the Safe Kids program. The goal here is to provide car seats to those who can't afford them. That SMART objective was by November 30th, we're going to distribute 20 car seats a week to families through these various programs. And then the set of steps that we're going to go through to get there. Got to find funding, going to hire an installation partner, create the awareness, and actually install the car seats. So this is the operational planning process that you go through for pretty much everything. As you can see with these clouds sitting outside the pyramid here, you got your typical plans, especially if you're going through the accreditation process. You can see your strategic plan, your CHA and your CHIP, your QI plan, emergency operations plan, your workforce development plan. Typically, those are all entered in a operational planning format into the system here. Okay, now we got a good solid operational plan in place. Let's take this plan and walk it through the PDCA cycle here. Obviously, what we just did is the P part, the planning part. So now we've got a good solid plan in place. Let's go ahead and execute that plan. In the do phase, we're going to do a couple of things. Number one, we're going to go to our funding source. We're going to have them provide money to Andrea every week to buy car seats. Number two, we're going to go to the PIO office and have them kick off the marketing campaign, if you will, to get people to go to Andrea, who's going to qualify them and install their car seats. What we're going to do in the background is set up this thing called real-time planning. Real-time planning is a combination of an automated email notification system. Remember those email flags we checked at the activity level here. Those emails will go out to the person who's responsible for updating the objectives and activities. That person is going to respond to that email through what we call the quick update system, which allows them to very simply go in and update the activities that they've been assigned and keep that information up to date. So in this case, it might look something like every, let's say, Monday morning, an email will go out to Andrea, and the email is going to say something to the effect of, how many car seats did you install last week? There's a link in that email that she'll click on. It'll take her back into what we call the quick update system, which is a very simple set of screens that allow her to just enter a couple of pieces of information, like the number of car seats installed, hit save, and she's done. It's probably going to take her about a minute a week is all we're going to ask to keep this information up to date. So we're going to do that week after week after week. And let's say 10 or 12 weeks later, somebody comes to you and says, hey, how's that car seat program working out? Well, in the check phase, we're going to be able to tell them that pretty easily here. So going back over to the live system, I've got this activity highlighted, installing 20 car seats a week. This little chart button right here is going to tell me exactly how we're doing. So what I'm looking at on this chart, number one, on the blue line, we're seeing the data points that Andrea's entered for us every week. On the green line is that target number we set of 20. The red line is kind of unique. It's a fallback number, or a safety zone. What we're saying there is if I drop below this line, something's gone wrong, I need to be notified. So the very simple way we do that notification is every time Andrea enters a value on the blue line, it compares it to the red and the green line and sets a traffic light for you. So down here, obviously it's red. In between, it's yellow. And once we get past the green line, it turns green. So just by looking at the traffic light, you can tell relatively where you are in this chart without even having to look at the chart here. Now, if you look at the chart itself, it says we started out, a little bit low, and then we started ramping up over about 4 to 5 weeks. And then we got up here to our target number and kind of kicking along about 21, 22 car seats a week. Kind of exactly what we thought would happen here. So now, back to the PDCA cycle. That was the check phase. The next phase is called the adjust phase. In the adjust phase, there's kind of 4 scenarios that you might see. Number one is just what you saw. Everything is working beautifully. No sense making any changes here. We're going to go back through this cycle whenever we decide. Maybe it's weekly, monthly, quarterly, whatever. You can hit that check phase again. You're going to look at that chart. If you're still sitting above the green line, hey, you're good. Continue on. Now, let's go back and make a quick change here. I'm going to go back and select this activity as being my bottom line activity. So the first thing we'll notice is that traffic light is yellow. So based on what we just talked about, that says we're sitting in between the red and the green line. So let's go verify that. Sure enough, we ramped up again over about 4 to 5 weeks, but we capped off at about 15 car seats a week. So now we have one more piece of information we didn't have before, and that is we're not making our target number. What we don't know at this point in time is why. Let's go back and figure that out. We're going to go back to our activities. We're just going to walk down through the activities. This is where you're going to see the traffic lights and the notes field is going to help us a lot. So number one, establish a funding stream. Well, this gold bar says we've got that nailed. We're done. Relationship with local car seat installer. You can see we've got Andrea on board down here, got a gold bar, we're done. Number three, PIO off is going to do our marketing. Well, we got a yellow light there indicating we've got something going wrong. Let's find out what that is. I'm going to go down to the notes field here. It says, may not be reaching the proper demographic, or the plan is just set too high. So either we're not getting to the people who can qualify financially typically for the program, or we just overestimated the target number. So now we have one more piece of information we didn't have before. We now know that our issue is in our marketing effort here. So what we're probably going to do is we're going to grab that chart. We're going to walk over to our PIO office. We're going to sit down with them and say, hey guys, here's what we're seeing here. We all kind of thought 20 was a good target number. Looks like we're only getting to 15. Any ideas? Maybe the first answer we get from the PIO office is, well, let me tell you what we've been doing. We've gone out to those specific neighborhoods we talked about. We put up some beautiful posters and flyers in all the shopping centers so people know that they can get these free car seats. We've gone out through social media, through the Nextdoor app. So we got some advertising out there so people can see it. We've gone to the local newspapers out there so that, we got the advertising in the newspaper. So we think we're doing a pretty darn good job overall getting the word out here. Perhaps we just overestimated the target number. Maybe that target really is only 15. So in this case, what we're going to do is actually make an adjustment to the plan. So what we've just done is taken a plan that typically is set forth for a fiscal year, and we're able to adjust the plan based on real information collected in real time. So that plan can be dynamic as we're moving forward based on reality here. The third scenario, let's say, get a different answer from our PIO office. Maybe, well, yeah, you guys came to us a couple months ago to get this thing kicked off. Unfortunately, we've had a lot of staff turnover in that time. Good news is we recently hired a new guy. He's kind of an expert in this area. His name's Bill. We've assigned Bill to this project, but kind of the bad news is he's only been doing it for a week or two. So we need to give Bill a bit more time to get ramped up here. So in this case, our adjustment is going to be to the resources to get to the plan. So we're going to get Bill in there, going to give Bill a bit more time, and we're going to get to the plan. Then I mentioned there's a fourth scenario as well. It's very common. The fourth scenario was maybe the plan still was a little bit too high, and maybe we even need more resources to get to that. So let's take the plan from 20 down to 17. Let's put Bill in there. Let's give Bill a bit more time and get ramped up and get moving here. So those are typically the four scenarios that you're going to see in the PDCA cycle here. Now, let's switch gears a little bit and talk about performance monitoring at the macro level or the dashboard itself. This is kind of the namesake screen of the VMSG dashboard. I'm going to take you live to the dashboard again. First thing we're going to do is go to the Groups tab again. Now, every person who is assigned as a user in the system is assigned by default to a specific group. So obviously the WIC people are assigned to WIC and the community health people are assigned to community health. The emergency preparedness folks are typically assigned to FEP. Your senior leaders in the organization, the health director and administrative officers, are typically assigned at the department level. So when they see a dashboard, what they want to see is the entire department on the dashboard here. So when you log in, it's going to take you to your default group. Now, although you do have a default group, it doesn't mean that you can't go in and look at other groups if you've been given that permission in here. Let's say we're a senior leader here. We're going at the department level. I'm going to go up and click on this traffic light up here. And that'll take us to the dashboard screen. Now, the dashboard screen, again, is that summary of the level that you're at, in this case, the department level. We start out by looking up here at the top left corner. I call the big picture here. It's the summary of all of the activities at this point, or the objectives, or the goals, depending on what you select. And you can see them in the traffic light here, the red, the yellow, the green, and the gold here. Now, the other thing you might notice is that everything on here is clickable. So if I want to see what this particular red activity was, I can just click on it. It's going to take me to that specific activity so I can get the details on that activity. When I'm done making any corrections or maybe potentially getting it back to green, I can just go up here and click on the back arrow and go right back to the dashboard. The other thing you'll see on this page is the schedule gauge. The schedule gauge is showing me, based on the beginning date, ending date, and percent complete at the activity level, it's aggregating all those together and showing me how am I doing against my assigned schedule timeline here. So in this case, it's showing that we're 42 days ahead of schedule, and hence the reason it's green. If we get down to equal or just below scheduled time, we're going to be at yellow. And we get down to 60 days below, we're going to be red. So just by looking at the color, you can tell we're in pretty good shape. We're ahead of schedule on that one. So that's the summary screen. Now, if I do want to drill down a little further, I can go down to the bottom here. And we've got a couple of different views that we can look at. Number one is our people, our activity leads. So these are those folks that were assigned as the activity leads on the activity screens here. If I go across here, I can see we have Diane Cox. I can see the last time Diane was in and updated her information. You'll notice it's color-coded. So the green indicates they've been in within 30 days, which is kind of where you want everybody to be. Yellow is 30 to 60 days. So maybe somebody's been out on vacation or out on leave for a little bit here. So it slipped a little bit, 30 to 60. The red is over 60 days. So that's typically somebody who's not had the opportunity to get in and update their plans and such. So you might want to go have a conversation, in this case with Steve, to go find out what's keeping him from keeping his information up to date here. The next column over here, the FTE column, or full-time equivalent, is aggregating all of the FTE values from the activities that this person has been assigned and showing you the employee loading, if you will. So in this case, we show Diane at a 1.25 FTE, meaning she's doing the job of 1.25 people. In an ideal world, you want to keep people down to that 1.0 or lower FTE just to avoid stress and such in here. So what you can do, again, you can click on that. You can get to all of Diane's activities, maybe reassign some of them to get them down to that 1.0 FTE level. The next column here is lagging. These are the activities that are behind schedule, and it is color-coded as to how far. The days column is the same as the schedule gauge, but for the individual person. The overdue column is just that. The ending date is come and gone, not yet 100% complete. And then a number of red, yellow, green, and gold. So it's giving you a good snapshot. If you look across one row of each person here, you can see a really good snapshot of how that person is performing against their assigned activities here. Now, the other thing you can do is you can look at your groups here as opposed to the people. So in this case, what I'm looking at down the left column is pretty much my org chart. And then I'm looking at pretty much the same information across here, number of activities and each status as we go across. And then I have a third view here. And the third view is priorities or strategic priorities. In this case, what I'm looking at are the strategic priorities from the strategic plan and how each of the other plans is supporting the strategic plan in here. So it's giving you a good snapshot of how all the other plans in the department are supporting your vision for the future, which is typically your strategic plan here. Up in the top right corner where it says My Priorities, that's exactly what these are. These are individually selectable objectives that you want to keep your eye on. So on the objective screen, there's a little green flag that you can set. And what it does is when you set that flag, it shows up here. Now, these are unique to your login. So everybody's screen is going to be a little different up here. But it just gives you the ability to track specific items that you're interested in. And you can click on them and take them on and off of there just that easily if you want to here. This button up here that says Homepage says, if I want the dashboard to be my homepage when I log in, which a lot of people do, you might want to log in first thing in the morning and see the status of your area of responsibility. You can set that and it'll turn white there and it'll show you that this is going to be your login page when you log into the system here. Document management. Built right into the VMSG dashboard is a complete document management system. The system was originally developed for the FAB accreditation process. During the process, typically which takes a couple of years, you're going to collect somewhere between 300 and potentially 1,000 documents that are going to be submitted up into the EFAB system eventually. And tracking all those documents over time and understanding which documents are valid and which documents are available for which measure is quite a task. So we built document management right in, so you can actually attach documents right to the plan element that they belong to. In addition to the document itself, you've got the ability to put in a lot of metadata around the document. This saves you from having an external spreadsheet to track all the documents and where they go and everything. So you can put in a full description around the document down here. You can put in any notes about that document, for instance, which section to refer to for this particular measure or something along that line. In addition, you have this date down here. This date is called the expiration date, typically, of the document. And that is, when does this document expire? So in accreditation, you got things like your chip, which has to be less than 5 years old when you submit it. So that date will let you know that it's still valid to submit. Your workforce development plan's got to be less than 2 years old, that sort of thing. So it allows you to easily track those. The other thing you have over here is this traffic light. Typically, folks will track the traffic light. Reds and yellows are typically drafts, different versions. When you get to green, that oftentimes mean that you've vetted it and signed it off and it's ready to go. And once it's set to gold, that typically indicates that it's been submitted up into EFAB. So it allows you to easily track all the documents you're going to be submitting. In addition to accreditation, the document management system can be used for anything you want. A lot of people use it for grant management. So you're going to submit a bunch of documents to get the grant. And then once you get the grant, you're going to submit a bunch of documents to track the grant over time. Policy management's another great use. So you've got a bunch of department policies that typically are updated every fiscal year, every couple of years, something along that line. So why not just build a quick little plan that has an objective that says manage all department policies on a fiscal year basis. And then underneath the objective, you have activities for each plan. Attached to that activity is the plan document. When it comes time to update that particular policy, the person who's been assigned as the activity lead is going to get an email notification. They're going to download the existing policy, they're going to do the updates, they're going to upload the new version, and they're all done. So it just makes a nice tool. There are no limitations on the amount of documents, the size of the documents, or the type of document. So it's wide open for you there. As I mentioned, documents can be attached to any planning element, any person, pretty much anything in the system. Most of the screens, you'll see this little blue folder down here. You'll notice the 1 on this folder indicating that there's one document attached. If I click on that, takes me to my document management screen. You can see we have a document called the Safe Kids Partner Agreement for Car Seat Program Management in there. Again, in addition to the document, you got the full description, which, by the way, can be as long as you want it to be. Same thing with the notes. You got that expiration date we were talking about. and you've got the traffic light for that document. So it allows you to track those documents completely through their life cycle. Down here on these buttons, you've got the ability to add a new document with the plus button here, save an existing document, delete a document. This link button allows you to link to an existing document in the system. So instead of having multiple copies of your chip referenced by different measures in there, you can use one copy of your chip and reference it multiple places here. This button here allows you to copy an existing document. So it copies the metadata for the document, allows you to upload a new document instead of having to retype everything. This allows you to actually download and print off that document if you want to, and then categorize the document, which we'll be talking about a little bit later here. Reports. The VMSG dashboard has a great variety of reports. The most common report that you'll see is the operational plan report. So if I wanted to print an operational plan report for the Safe Kids program, I'll go down to my group screen, select Community Health Division, then I go up to the Services and Initiatives screen and select the Safe Kids program. Then I'm going to go up to the Reports menu in the top right up here, click on that, and then we have the operational plan report at the top here. And this is the operational plan report for the Safe Kids program and the car seat program in here. You'll notice that it has the Community Health Division, the service, Safe Kids, the goal, the objective, all the activities, who's assigned to the activities, the status of the activities, traffic light flags, everything you want to know but we're afraid to ask. In addition, you've got a lot of flexibility in all the reports up here. You can see, you can set a date range. So I just want to see last month. I want to show documents that are attached anywhere on the report. I want to hide the notes fields that you see in blue here. I want to look at the report just at the services, goals, objectives, or activities level. So lots of flexibility on the reports and lots of different reports in there. VMSG Public is a great tool which allows you to create web pages with any or all performance indicators in the system. This is an example of a VMSG Public web page for the car seat program in here. You can have performance indicators at any level. So this happens to be the Community Health Division. If I roll over here, you'll see how many activities we have in each status, the gold, the green, the yellow, the red. In addition, we have that timeline gauge up there. So it's just a quick snapshot of how community health is performing. I can have those indicators at any level that I want to, all the way down to the activity level. So the activity of Andrea's car seats will install 20 car seats a week. When I go over here and roll over the chart, you'll see it shows me the number of car seats each week that were installed. I can have as many indicator rows on a page as I want and as many pages as I want. Bottom line is it creates this unique web address for you. You can copy that. You can paste it into an email and send it out. You can put it on social media. You can have it put on your public web page. So it's a real simple way to show performance. As FAB says, let's be transparent in public health here. Three-dimensional planning. Three-dimensional planning is a unique ability to be able to categorize and subcategorize planning elements across every plan in the system. This allows you to very simply create an index that you can go back and look up across various categories. So as an example, you might want to categorize pieces of your plans against the essentials of public health and accreditation. So which pieces of which plans are supporting public health essential number 1? The FAB standards. So you're going to go back in and say which pieces of which plans are supporting FAB standard 6.1. Those strategic priorities we talked about on the dashboard screen. I can go in and say these pieces of these plans are supporting our strategic priority of partnering. And the same thing with the documents. Each document can be tagged with multiple categories to allow you to go back. And in this case, you might go back and say, these are the 3 documents that are tagged for FAB standard 4.2. So when it's time to upload those documents into the EFAB system, you can easily go back and find them. You can categorize planning elements at any level. Let's categorize the Safe Kids program against several of the standards that are in there. So the categorization button is this little up arrow with a paperclip on it that you see. I'm going to click on that. It's going to bring me to the selection of categories on the left and each of the categories, subcategories on the right. So let's start out with strategic priorities at the top. And let's go ahead and say this is related to strategic priority number 1, enhancing stakeholder engagement partnerships here. Let's go down to the essentials of public health and accreditation. And let's say it's essential number 4 and essential number 7 down here. And then let's scroll down to the FAB domains and standards here. And let's go ahead and categorize it against FAB domain 7 and standard 7.1, as well as reaccreditation measure 7.1. Then I'm going to go down here and hit the Save button. It's going to ask me if I want to categorize everything down the pyramid from the Safe Kids program. So we'll get the related goals, objectives, and activities. We'll go ahead and say yes. Now you'll notice the little blue eye in here indicating that it has been categorized. And you'll see when I go down the pyramid a little bit here at the goal level, it's also been categorized, the objective level, and the activity level. So once you categorize these, you can easily go back through what we call the category tag report and be able to go back in and extract the information from across the entire system based on a specific set of categories and subcategories. Built into the VMSG dashboard is a complete plan for FAB accreditation and or reaccreditation. I go back to the group screen here. We can go down here to the FAB accreditation local. There's a local, a state, and a tribal version, as well as a reaccreditation only version of this plan. If I start drilling down the pyramid here, getting down to the service initiatives, first thing you'll see are the 7 steps of public health accreditation, which is kind of a overview of the accreditation process all the way through reaccreditation. And then you get down to each of the domains. Underneath the domains, if I go down to the goal level, you'll see these standards, as well as those 31 reaccreditation measures in there. Under each standard are the measures. And then the really cool part is under each measure is a specific set of activities that you need to complete to get to that measure. Now, each of those measures requires documentation. Could be narratives, it could be specific documents around meeting notes and things along that line. Again, here's the document management attached to this activity, which is part of the measure. I click on that. It says, okay, we have 3 documents attached. I can have as many documents attached as I want. And these are the documents that you'll be submitting for that specific measure. So it's a very handy place to keep them when it's attached to that. The other nice thing about having the accreditation plan as a group within itself is that it has its own dashboard. So if I want to see exactly how we are doing as a department towards FAB accreditation, I can have a dashboard that shows me exactly the status of our accreditation process. What we'll typically do when we set this up for you is ask you, who are your domain leads? Who are the people you've assigned to manage each domain? And then what is the proposed end date, if you will, the date that you're planning on submitting your final documentation to FAB? We'll push all of those down to the activity level for you. By doing that, what we've done is created that as part of the real-time planning process. So those folks who are designated as domain leads and whoever they assign at the activity level as well, if they want to do that, will be getting those email notifications on a regular basis to go in and update that information, update the documents and everything else. So what it basically allows you to do is just to structure the process of going through accreditation and manage it over the course of the years that it typically takes to do that. If you're using this accreditation project plan, there's also the ability to have a virtual mock site visit. So what a lot of folks do when they get down to the point where they're ready to have the FAB site visit, before they do that, they'll have a mock site visit. They'll typically hire somebody to come in and walk through all of their plans and all of their documents and kind of grade them so that they understand what they should be doing to get ready for their final site visit. Well, instead of paying somebody to come in and airfare and hotels and meals and all that stuff, you can have somebody come in virtually. So we'll train them on how to do this. We'll give them access to your particular accreditation plan, and then they can go in and virtually go through and grade every document and every plan in your system. When they're done, you have access to a report called the Accreditation Review Report. You can go in and see exactly what you need to get ready for your final site visit. So it's just another nice tool in the system for you. One of the really nice features of the dashboard is that help is always one click away. If I'm on the Services tab and I have any questions about what are these buttons for, what am I supposed to put in these fields, I can always go up to the little blue eye in the top right corner and click on that. It'll take me to the Help and Information screen, and it'll take me to where I came from, in this case, adding and managing services and initiatives. First thing you'll see over here on the right side are the kind of the bullet points for every button and every field on that screen, defining what they are and how they're used. Down here is a training video on specifically that function on adding and managing services. They typically are 3 to 4 minutes long. You can go into these training videos. In this module, we'll discuss more of the planning elements in the dashboard system. We'll talk about services and initiatives. You can typically go to the training module, go through the module in 3 to 4 minutes, and then go back to what you were doing in there. In addition, there's a complete user guide down here at the bottom. You can see it's a hyperlinked PDF file, so I can always go in and click on any area in here to get to adding and managing services. So it's going to take me right to that area in the document. You can print this document off, or you can dock it on your desktop, whatever you're comfortable doing in here. In addition to the help topics for each subject, there are training curriculums up here. So we got the user level training, administrator training, operational plan development training, and then the occasional user training. These trainings are a sequence of those modules that you can go through. I do recommend everybody go through the user level training to start with. It gets you through all the clicks and all the different things that you're going to do to enter and create plans in the system in there. If you're an administrator, go through the admin level training. Operational plan development training is a really nice 20-minute, 4-module curriculum that talks about the basics of operational planning, how to create an operational plan, what it looks like, what are all the different fields and things. Then the occasional user training, we'll talk a little bit more about in a few minutes. That's for those folks who are just responding to the email notifications and going to use the quick update system, which we'll be talking about more here in a few minutes. The real-time planning system allows us to collect real information from the source in real time. It's a combination of an automated email notification system and what we call the quick update system. Here's how it works. First thing you're going to do is set up a time frame that you want these emails to go out. They can be set up anywhere between once a day and once a month, anywhere in between there if you want. Most often it's a monthly cycle. Let's say we set it up for the first Wednesday of each month. It's going to happen on that Wednesday at about 1 in the morning. The system's going to go in and look at all your users, and it's going to ask 3 questions. Number 1, have you been in the last 30 days and updated your stuff? Number 2, do you have anything that's behind schedule? Number 3, do you have anything that's overdue? If any of those is true, out go the emails. The emails go out to both internal folks as well as those selected external partners. In the email is a link that they can click on. It'll allow them to get right into the quick update system where they can update all of their activities and objectives. And when they're done, they just log out. The entire process averages about 3 to 5 minutes per person per month. So it's a very, very efficient way to collect the information here. The email you get is going to look like this. First thing it's going to show you is, why did you get this email? Those 3 criteria we talked about. Have you been in the last 30 days? Do you have anything behind schedule? Do you have anything overdue? It's also going to show you of all the activities that you've been assigned, the status, the red, yellow, green, and gold. It's going to give you the names, email addresses, and phone numbers of the assigned system administrators in your organization. So if you have any questions, you can contact them very easily. And then down here at the bottom, there's the link that you're going to click on that's going to take you back into the system. So the next thing we're going to do is go into the system and walk through the process of getting your login credentials, logging into the system, changing your password, and then using the quick update system here. First thing I'm going to do is go ahead and log out. So this is the top right button up here. I'll click on it. It's going to ask me to log off, obviously. Once I log off, it's going to take me back into my login screen here. So the first thing I want to do, if I don't have my login credentials already, is hit the send button. Now it's going to ask me to put in my email address. And I'm going to hit send again. I'm going to get a little window here that says success, meaning that it found my email address and it emailed my login credentials to me. Go ahead and click OK. Now, the email you get is going to look like this. It's going to show you very simply your login ID and your password. Now, the password is going to be a cryptic string of characters that you probably don't want to remember. So we're going to go through the process of actually changing that password once we log in here. So I'm going to hit the login button again. I'm going to go ahead and put in my username or email address. Either one works. So if you don't want to remember another username, just use your email address in there as your username and then put in the password that was in the email. Typically just copy and paste it over there to start with. Then I'm going to hit the login button here. Now, if I've been assigned as an objective or an activity lead anywhere in the system, I'm going to get this dialog box. So it gives me the opportunity to either obviously cancel out, go to the main menu of the dashboard, or go to the quick update system. So for now, we're going to choose the quick update system. Okay, on the quick update screen, it's going to allow me to very simply update all of the activities and objectives that I've been assigned. But before we do that, let's go ahead and change that password. So I'm going to go up here to the key button. I'm going to click on that. It's going to ask me to put in the password that I just got off of the email and then put in a new password, verify the new password like every other website in the world. And once you do that, you're going to hit update and you're done. So I'd recommend doing this first. Now, if you get through a monthly cycle and you don't go back in between and you forgot your password, you can go through the exact same process and it's going to send you your new password in the email that you get here. So we'll go ahead and cancel out of that. So now this is the quick update screen. At the top of the screen is just the context. So it's the group, service initiative, goal, objective, and then my activity. You'll notice it says activity 1 of 5. So I'm going to be going through 5 activities today. Down here at the bottom, there's only 3 fields to update. Very simple. I can cycle through the traffic lights just by clicking on it. I can enter my data value in here. And if I need to, I can put in a note. Then I'm going to go down here to the bottom right and hit the little green button, go to the next one. You'll notice it says 2 of 5 now. I'm going to walk through that same process. Now, during this process, if you're updating something that requires some document, you can go right up here to the document management screen. Click on here. You see it says 4 documents attached. So we've got these documents that are attached. So I can add new documents. I can link to documents, just like we talked about a little bit earlier here. Hit the back arrow. It'll take me right back to where I was here. I'm going to cycle through my activities. Now, there's going to be times where you're not going to enter anything in here. It's going to be, nothing has changed in that activity. So I can just cycle through them here. 4 of 5. Now I'm at 5 of 5. So I'm on the last activity here. If I've also been assigned as an objective lead, when I click this button next time, it's going to give me a dialog again saying, do you want to go to your objectives? Or do you want to stay where you are or go back to the main dashboard screen? So I'm going to click on the objectives button here. It's going to take me to a very similar screen here, but it's actually the objectives now that I'm entering versus the activities here. Same thing, I got my documents that I can attach to the objectives as well. And then these are the activities that are assigned to that particular objective. I can click on those and go right to the quick update screen for those activities as I want. Now, again, it says I have 1 of 5 objectives I'm going to be doing. So I'm going to cycle on through those. And when I'm done, I can just go up here and log out, or I can click the main menu and go to the main menu on the dashboard if I want to. Typically, you're going to end up just logging out at this point in time, and you're going to be done.
Phew, that was a lot. I hope you had your snorkel and mask on for this drink from a fire hose. As we took you through the flow of the dashboard, perhaps some of you felt a little overwhelmed, but I assure you that you won't have to know every last detail of what you just experienced. We'll have many tools to help you learn your part in the success of your department. Remember, it's progress over perfection.